you ready?
Oh, this will be a great wrestling podcast, and you can believe in that.
I knew he was going to do it. I knew.
This is OT3.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Off the Top Turnbuckle, Episode 3. I'm Anthony, he's Matt, and as usual, we have our awesome producer, Paul.
How's it going, guys?
How's everyone doing tonight?
What's up, everyone? Bulletproof.
Oh, my.
Who is that? What is this bulletproof? At the top of every show, Matt's been saying something. I have no idea what he's saying. It's probably because I haven't.
Matt, you want to take that one real quick and just explain to him a little bit about it?
As we talked about, in previous episodes, we talked about, Finn Balor, Gallows, Anderson, AJ Styles, the Bullet Club. Well, obviously, they can't use the Bullet Club because I think the rights are still with New Japan. So Finn came out with a new thing called Bulletproof. Came out with it. He teased everyone saying Bulletproof Mondays, who were thinking maybe Gallows and then will premiere today, when actually it was a new shirt that said Bulletproof Balor Club. So it seems like we got the new name of the group when they eventually come will be Bulletproof, I believe. So, Anthony, what do you think? Do you think that's going to be the name?
I think Bulletproof Balor Club is what they're going to go with. I think Bulletproof, they don't really need Balor Club, per se. I think Balor will be the leader, but I think Bulletproof by itself will be a nice name. I don't think you need all of that extra, but yeah, I think that's the best way to kind of incorporate everything since he's been wearing the Balor Club shirt, but it also includes Bullet Club from New Japan in a way, to get a little spin on it.
Real quick, let's just talk on that real quick. Do you think he'll have to turn heel for this to work? Because, you've seen him at live shows. He's such a face, coming out with bait. all that stuff. Do you think when this eventually happens, is he going to have to try to find a way to turn heel? Because he's just so over with the fans as a face. How's it going to work out?
I think it's all about the booking, to be honest with you. I think if your idea, which you've talked about and we've talked about numerous times, and you're very convinced that the Bullet Club is some way going to be involved at WrestleMania and Shane and Undertaker's match, I think if there's any way that happens where they get involved, I think they're faces, because we all know that as much as you think Shane and the Undertaker, you don't know who's going to be face and heel, everyone's going to be rooting for Shane because they know that means Shane comes back and takes control of Raw. But at the same time, no one's going to boo the Undertaker because he's the Undertaker. Doesn't matter if you watch wrestling now or haven't watched it in 10 years. For the last 25 years, he's been, a fan favorite, and everyone knows him, every household. It's a big time name. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, everyone, Taker. I think there really is no heel in that match. We don't know what's going to happen tonight. We get to the Raw preview later on with Taker coming back tonight. So we don't know what's going to happen, but it's like, people hate Vince so much that they're going to maybe root for Shane. And now that the streak is over with, I think you kind of can root against Taker, because now it's like, oh crap, he has to win the streak. The streak's over now, so it's not like really a must win anymore for Taker anymore, these WrestleManias.
I agree, yeah. We're just going to do a quick little thing. This is not wrestling related, but I felt like it was very comparable to something else in wrestling. Leonardo DiCaprio finally won his first Oscar, and it reminded me of something that's taking the shirt that Matt's wearing right now, Roman, a long time to win, which is his first WWE title for more than a month. Matt, anything to say to that about me comparing Leo to Roman there?
It was a long time coming. That's all I got to say. When Roman finally won his title, after the whole year of, getting screwed over constantly over and over, Bray Wyatt knocking him off the ladder at Money in the Bank, Sheamus coming out and screwing that up by cashing. They're just, Mr. Architect himself, Seth Rollins, introduced himself in the WrestleMania match last year. It was a lot that, Roman had to deal with, and he finally overcome and beat the other 4 nominees, Triple H and all of them, and finally won what he, I think, deserved for a while, ever since, he left the Shield separated.
Fair enough. We had to add that one in there for everyone that's wondering why we're talking about the Oscars. Myself, and I think Matt as well, is a big Leonardo DiCaprio fan when it comes to acting. Paul, I don't know if you're a big fan yourself there, are you, of
Leo?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed all of his movies, that's for sure. Well, most of them, at least.
Fair enough.
Well, I think it's time we get back to some wrestling talk. What do you think there?
I think that's a fair
luckily last week, we did the show on the Tuesday, so we got already talked about Raw. But let's go ahead and just, talk about some things tonight for Raw, whereas The Undertaker's returning. So, Anthony, first, how do you think he's going to return tonight? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm thinking, I mean, I haven't read anything yet that said anything, but I'm thinking The Undertaker's going to open Raw and just kind of discuss, what it means. But I think he's going to talk about the WWE and like the current state of it, and maybe just touch on a little bit that when how he first started. And I think he's going to talk a little bit about like the relationship he had with Shane since he's known Shane for, so many years. Not necessarily like, the more so of him being in the back maybe when he was younger and seeing him grow up. And I think they're going to try and spin it as much as they can to make it to where the Undertaker comes off, selling this match to where he's going to say, I don't want to have to do this to Shane, but I'm not going to lose another match, especially in the Hell in a Cell. And I think it's definitely going to make this match a little more bigger until the next meeting. I think they said that the two of them are both supposed to be at Raw in the next few weeks, so that'll be good at least till then. I don't think if they are going to go down the road like me and you have talked about of having another person in the match per se, whether it be John Cena that we've been talking about for weeks, or another person entering on Shane's behalf, I think that would take place maybe a couple weeks down the road when you have the match of when both of them are in the house at Raw. I don't think tonight you're going to really get much more on that.
Now, okay, we've been discussing, who could actually interfere in the match and whatnot. Let's go ahead and just say, who's your top person to interfere? You already know who mine is. I'll probably end up saying it again, but who's your top person to maybe interfere in this match on either Shane or Undertaker's behalf?
Oh man, I think Vince is going to get involved somehow. I don't know under what extent. I don't know if it's going to be Vince just gets Undertaker. I don't think it's going to be like where Shane's beating up the Undertaker and the Undertaker needs help. I think it's going to be more one of those things that Shane's is going to keep, kicking out, and he's not going to give up because he knows that it's for the title. And I think that Vince is going to want to make sure he gets in there and just stop his son from winning, And I think Undertaker's going to see that. And this is the conclusion I've gone with for a while. I think the Undertaker is going to see that Shane just won't give up and he will not stay down. And eventually, out of respect, from knowing Shane and all that, I think he's going to put Shane's arm over him just to spite Vince, because Vince would try to get involved and cause his son to lose, and then Shane would be in charge. That's one of my things, which will then, by doing that, will lead to this brand split that they've been talking about, and they're saying it's getting more and more traction because it hasn't been done in years. It's been a while since there's been a brand thing, but this way Vince can still be like, well, I'm not taking, Stephanie or myself out of power. You can control Raw, but SmackDown's going to be mine. And I think it helps prolong that storyline, because now not only do you have Shane still involved, but you're still able to involve the original authority that's in power now on Raw, so which would be, I think, a win-win for everyone, because you'd have a little bit of competition on both.
All right, my thing's still going to be, I think Bullet Club, this is a great time for them to debut. You have Shane's guys in the Bullet Club. Triple H will have his authority. Whether he adds more people or not, we don't know. But, last week after we got off the air, Baltimore came out with their ticket on Ticketmaster saying WWE Monday Night Raw versus WWE. They came out and said that was a typo. Now, here's the thing. Was that really a typo, or is that, we put something out too early that we shouldn't have done? I mean, that's what it's looking more like. It was a mistake to where it was probably something they should have saved until after WrestleMania to put out, but someone over at Ticketmaster did the oopsie and put it out too early. What were your thoughts on that? Because I honestly, I think it wasn't a typo. I think they messed up and put it out too early than when it was supposed to come out.
Being a fan for so long and seeing this stuff happen, obviously I'm with you. I really hope that it ends up being the WWE versus WWE Monday Night Raw, because that would add much more intrigue. But I have a feeling it was just a typo. If it would have said like Raw versus SmackDown, I think it would have had, but Raw versus WWE, it wouldn't. To me, it doesn't make much sense, because why would the whole WWE be facing Raw when Raw is incorporated into WWE? So I feel like there could be more there. Maybe it's going to be Raw versus SmackDown, like we've been talking about, or maybe it was just honestly, it was an honest mistake and they double typed it. But either way, I think that's definitely something we can monitor, and I know you're especially excited about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Once the tickets go on sale, I think me and Paul need to try to find our way up to Baltimore. What do you think, Paul?
I am so down for that. Heck yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
I don't know. See, the thing I said, you say it's, it would just be Raw versus SmackDown. But you got to think, maybe it's Raw versus SmackDown and NXT, and that's where you get the other WWE from. Instead of it saying Raw versus SmackDown and NXT, just Raw versus the rest of WWE. Maybe that's where the WWE part came from, is you're combining the two. Because like we said, Triple H had a lot to do with NXT, and maybe that's what it's going to be. It's going to be he's bringing up the NXT guys, and whoever's on SmackDown, people who are going to be loyal to him, to go against maybe who's loyal against Shane. So, it could be another whole nother invasion storyline, which back in, I thought was a very good storyline. I think what really killed that storyline for the WCW versus WWE was WCW's main guys didn't have to do it because they're guaranteed money contracts. Why not try it again with people who are actually going to be there and more power people?
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that's definitely something that's plausible. My thing is, while we're touching on it, I just want to touch on it a little more since you kind of asked my thing. You've said the Bullet Club, but if they say the Bullet Club gets involved, they help Shane. Is it just Raw now, or do they go back to Raw and SmackDown being separate brands? How would you tie that now? Because now it's not like where the Undertaker in my scenario would would just help, basically give Shane the win because he saw that he wasn't going to give up and he respected it. Where does Vince and Stephanie and Triple H work into that scenario in the secondary part?
You mean as in with Shane in control, what happens to those guys?
Right. Because now it's not like where he's basically, for lack of a better, getting screwed out of the match. It was something that the Bullet Club helped cause the situation, I should say.
Well, I think you see maybe Triple H will feel a little betrayed, obviously, because you've seen what Balor's been doing on Facebook, comparing them, whatnot, so and so. So maybe something where this is where, maybe Finn can come out and be like, look, I'm tired of being on NXT. I should have been called up a long time ago, and this is me sticking it to you in the face. Because if you've seen a lot of guys who come up from NXT, and Vince himself, has reports he's buried. You see Tyler Breeze has been buried, Neville, never really made it up to, any kind of single titles or anything like that. So maybe it's Vince saying, hey, look, we're sticking it to you, Vince, because every time you bring someone up, you're not giving anyone a chance. Obviously, Kevin Owens is the exception, with all the runs he's had and everything with the IC title. But maybe it's Finn's like, yeah, you gave one guy something, you gave Kevin Owens the one guy. But what about Neville? What about Breeze? You screwed those guys. You know what? We're coming up here to take it back from you, to show you that we're from NXT and we belong on the main roster. Something like that could happen.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something
I
would
you
like.
can agree that Vince has buried those two guys. Besides Kevin Owens, Neville and Breeze have been completely buried.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I won't say Neville got buried, but I don't think they've used Neville to his full potential. I agree with you there. I think Breeze, what they've done to him is honestly every match he's been in for the last. I understand he left the show early or whatever happened. And I know there's been past stories like with Triple H back in the day with the curtain call when he came out with the Click, when they were leaving. They told him for like a year, Vince basically told him, you're going to be in the lower card, you're going to get buried over and over. But Triple H said, hey, I want to be here at the end of the day. And I hope that Tyler Breeze gets pushed back up because honestly, I think Breeze is a phenomenal talent. And I've said this since his NXT days. I think that he's one of the best wrestlers that I saw in NXT in the ring, and his gimmick alone is I just think it's great. I think overall his mic skills are pretty decent. He does a really good job overall, I think, and I think that down in NXT, I definitely thought he should have had at least one run with the world title. He was in multiple world title matches, but never had that one run. So,
the great thing about, talking about the Raw preview and everything is that everything ties together in WWE. That's what's so great about, having a wrestling from sports. You have to go from sport to sport to sport. Obviously, I know because I have Shite Sports Talk, but for the wrestling one, we can just go everywhere.
Shameless plug.
But, you can go from NXT. And the thing about Neville is I think Neville would have been great with a tag team type of person. I think singles, he showed he can do some. I think Neville could have been great. Who would have been a great partner for Neville if he was still around? Can you imagine him and Evan Bourne as a tag team, the way those guys fly around? I think that would have been a great tag team. Obviously, we'll never find out. No one probably would ever put them together. But I think Neville could be utilized, in the tag team division with the right type of partner. What do you think about that?
I think that would have been I like that Neville Bourne team, actually, real quick before we move on to who I think he could be partners with. But I think that Neville could definitely be utilized in the tag division. To be honest with you, I saw him, he faced with the Lucha Dragons against New Day. And to be honest, if it gives him a match that's of more importance, I think the more, the better for him. I think Neville's a great in-ring performer, and I would love to see him in a title match. And that would give us someone different against a New Day if you do Neville and whoever. I'm right now I'm drawing a blank on who I'd put in that match. But, you put them in that match, it gives you a new team that the New Day faces. Instead of having, the Usos or the Lucha Dragons or
the League of Nations,
even the League of Nations. I don't want to see that match. I want to see the New Day become, if they want to make the New Day a face team, I get it. But I honestly like the New Day as a heel. And the crowd's still going to cheer for him, even when they are a heel, because they're just that much over right now with the fans. So, to be honest with you, I think Neville, as as a baby face with another person to be on his team, I think would not be a bad mistake. Now, I don't want to see Neville with the Big Show.
Oh
Or
God,
something
no.
like you know what I mean?
No.
I've heard Neville's teamed with Kane at live events. I don't know if I necessarily want to see that tag team.
That's almost another Kane with Bryan again. Almost is what that would look
Yeah,
like.
exactly. I don't think I want to see something that similar again. Um, but I think that would definitely be a right in the right step. Or like we had talked about before, I think Neville if they do end up doing a ladder match for one of those mid card, either the
Would be great.
Intercontinental or the United, I think Neville would be a great addition to that match.
Let's talk about tag team. Let's talk about NXT, and we're on the end topic of talking about NXT guys. Talk about a couple guys who could be coming up, who's been wrestling with with the with the main roster at live events right now. One is the Lone Wolf, Mr. Corbin, who's been I think he had a match with Zack Ryder, came out to a huge heel. And then the next group that actually had a thing with the Wyatt family, which I thought was reading that, I thought that was very interesting that they even did that, was Enzo and Cash. I thought Enzo and Cash, even they're doing live events, maybe against smaller teams, but the fact that they had the Wyatts come out and attack them, I thought was very interesting. What did you think about that little thing at the live events, having them, have them, do a six-man tag with the Big Show against the Wyatt family and picking up a win against the Wyatt family? Does that look bad for a team like someone from NXT, even though you're with the Big Show, to beat the Wyatt family even at a live event? What did you think about that, reading that?
I think the live events in total, I think, are always geared towards the good guys, the face teams, because they know that the fans aren't going to really see it live, so it's not like, oh man, that guy just lost on TV tonight. It's more of a, let's see what these guys got, and I think it's good. I mean, I told you I think the Wyatts are the most underutilized, just faction individually, as a group, just overall. I think they're the most underutilized thing in the WWE right now. But I think that doing that for Enzo and Cass is good because, like I said, down in NXT, Enzo and Cass are great, but they don't have that signature win. They never won the tag titles. They've been in multiple tag title matches at different teams and they've lost. So don't get me wrong, I still think they're a great team, but I think that having to beat the Wyatts on these live events is going to give all the people that haven't watched NXT or seen much of it, like, okay, this looks like a pretty cool team that could be brought up.
Well,
and they're going to look forward to it.
Pop. Like people
Exactly. People know them, and that's what people think, that no one watches NXT. A lot of people watch NXT, and that's why these guys get the reactions they do when they come up. But having them put on live events before they debut on TV is a good, it's a good overall exposure.
Well, it's a good way to
for
see
them.
how the fans are going to react to him.
Exactly.
Like Corbin, who's a heel in NXT, got a heel reaction when he came
Right.
out. Obviously, you're putting him against Zack Ryder, which I think the reason you do that, because Ryder's a big face, so you want to see what would happen. And he got, they said one of the biggest heel pops of the night, so people know who Corbin is.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think that all three of them, with Enzo and Cass's team, and then Corbin, are all going to be, good talents to have up on the main roster. I think Corbin could right away go right into that mid card of battling for a United States. I could see him coming up and facing whoever, if it's Kalisto still at the time, and getting that title, and then maybe having a little bit of a run. And I think he would work really well if he takes it off Kalisto, working with someone like a John Cena, or a Cesaro when he returns, someone of that caliber that can kind of help him get to that next level, not necessarily make him within a year be in the main event picture, but have that I think that would be really good for him to have those kind of exactly a good marquee win.
What Kevin Owens was what John Cena did with Kevin Owens. I hate when people say John Cena doesn't put over talent when she does so much. I mean,
yeah, that drives me nuts. And everyone,
lately,
and listen,
people give Cena too much crap for the stuff that he does.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think there's some matches that Cena wins sometimes, but he's not burying the person. The match is going like the Owens. Yeah, Owens. I feel like Owens should have won 2 out of 3 there. But then you think about it from the WWE standpoint. John Cena's been there.
Him to the limit.
He took him to the limit in every match. He had to use more, different moves to beat him. Cena pulled out completely new moves that you've never seen him do before, and he kicked out of multiple moves. He got out of the submissions. He got to the ropes. Same thing on Cena's side. He kicked out of a couple of different moves from Owens, but you saw different stuff from both of them. And you saw stuff from Cena that you've never seen in the 12-plus years he's been wrestling on the main roster. So I think that it didn't just do good just for Owens. It also did good for Cena. And I think that Cena, as much as I'm not his biggest fan, But I think overall he does a great thing. Those, like we talked about last week a little bit, those U.S. Open title matches I think were some of the best things they did on Raw because it gave so much exposure to some of these guys that weren't getting the chance. Sometimes, yeah, it was like, okay, this guy probably shouldn't be in the match, but they were having it was week
Well, look
after
at
week.
Sami
Some of these
Zayn. I
matches
mean,
were
he
great.
took Cena to the limit, even with a popped out shoulder or whatever he did.
That one, James.
What?
Talking about Sami Zayn.
Well, I know one thing you can't do is put Zayn and winning in the same sentence.
Oh, and that one, he's not gonna like that one.
And you know the sad part is Zayn probably won't even get the win at
At
Takeover,
yeah, against
because
Nakamura,
there's no way you're gonna make Nakamura lose.
his debut. Yeah, I can't see it
Speaking
happening
of
either.
Zayn, the 2 out of 3 falls is this week actually.
Oh, against Samoa
It's
Joe.
this week, and you
I had-
saw it live. Should the fans
Correct.
watch this match?
Absolutely. I will be honest with you. The match, to me, started a little slow, but towards like when it was getting to probably the latter half, but it was overall a good match. That latter half was really good, especially for the 3 falls. I mean, obviously that's what you're watching the match for. I know that kind of sounds like, well, yeah, of course that. Why wouldn't you watch it after that? But those falls, there were some near falls. There was a lot of reversals. It was just a very good match. And I think when I was there, I want to say it was about a 45 to 50-minute match. So I think it's going to be the full episode of NXT.
I think because when they showed the spoiler line, you see they go by episode, and they said this match is the entire episode.
Yeah, you might have a promo here or there, like a backstage thing, but I think for the most part, that's the only match you're going to see on that episode, and it was well worth the match. The match was a very good match, and I think that everyone will enjoy it. I don't want to tell you who wins. You might already know if you read the spoilers, but definitely tune in for that match if you have a chance on the network on Wednesday night, because that was a heck of a match to watch.
All right, well, let's stay in the NXT, category. The great thing about this is, man, we can go from segue to segue without even realizing it. The tag team titles. Do you see where are they? Where are they?
American Alpha.
American Alpha. Do you see them? I believe they're getting they should get the tag team titles matches at Takeover. Do you believe they should win them at Takeover from Dash and Dawn?
Yes, I think so. I think that would be great for them as well, because I think that would put them on the next level. They're already way over with the fans. People love them. They're great in the ring, overall charismatic. They're great. The two of them work well off each other. I think the American Alpha going over in that match would be huge for them, and I think it's time. I mean, Dash and Dawson have had a pretty, pretty decent run considering, for most, it was a shock when they first won the titles, to be honest. I was very surprised that they won the titles, but they've done pretty well considering. But I think that American Alpha right now, to me, is the best team in NXT. Even over Enzo and Cass. And that's nothing against Enzo and Cass. I think they're great too, but I think American Alpha right now is just...
You know who they remind me of?
Team Angle.
Oh, how did you know I was going to say that?
Because the funny... Go ahead.
Did you read where Angle would love to come back?
Exactly. Angle said that he would love to reincorporate Angle.
They'd be great. I think they'd be great with each other.
I think that would be awesome. And that would be awesome for them to have them on the main roster, because you wouldn't even... Angle then could work a smaller schedule, because he could just have them there, and in like a pay-per-view, you might have a 6-man tag match, and an Angle will come back for it, and he'll work Raws here and there. But I think it would be great for them because they'd be able to learn from him. They're already, luckily NXT down there, from what you see, it looks like they get a lot of learning, and the people that down there, the experience they're getting from everyone is probably great. But if you got to travel the road with Kurt Angle,
oh yeah,
that's invaluable, man.
I'm sure he'll
one
travel
of the best of all time.
He won't make them go somewhere else. He'll go with them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think NXT is doing great. I can't wait for the takeover. I think it's the Saturday now. Are they gonna? That's gonna be probably another. Well, of course, it's gonna be a network special. Well, at least it won't be like when they were in England when we had to watch the thing at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They got off work for that.
They usually do it at night. I think this one, if I'm not mistaken, they might change it, but I think it was on Friday night actually, the 2 days before WrestleMania.
I think it had to be
because Saturday I think is the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which won't be bad. I'll be watching on the WWE Network for $9.99 a month.
There you go. Actually, speaking of the Hall of Fame, you see the segues, like you said, we just keep hitting it. Just announced this afternoon on WWE.com was the Fabulous Freebirds. Now, that's a team that people have been clamoring for to be put in the Hall of Fame for a long time, and there was even some legends that said if they weren't put in, they weren't going to watch the Hall of Fame or WrestleMania weekend. And going in Texas, I think, was a big deal for the Freebirds. Now, so I think that's great.
The main guy everyone knows from that is Michael Hayes. And a lot of people remember Michael Hayes for his work mostly with the Hardys. And I think that's where a lot of people remember Hayes. He was always the manager of the Hardys, came out with the little cane. And that's really, I think he's the one who discovered Matt and Jeff, wasn't it, I believe?
If I'm
believe-
not mistaken, I'm
I
not
think
100%. I think it might have been Jim Ross, but I know Hayes had a lot to do with the development of him.
Yeah, so I mean that's where a lot of people remember Hayes from. I mean, and also with the Hall of Fame this year, you got the Godfather and you got Sting, who's Sting is the main man for the class this year, which is why that's one of the reasons why I don't see Daniel Bryan going in this year, because I don't think they want to put anyone that will overshadow Sting, and I don't think you should.
I agree. No, I think that this class alone, I think you could put another maybe guy that's in the main event that wasn't a main event picture. Maybe he was a world champion, but I don't think you put Daniel Bryan, especially coming off of the retirement, because I feel like he would overshadow. And it's nothing against Sting, but not I wouldn't say overshadow. I just feel like he would be a big name to put next to Sting when I think Sting should be
Sting
the guy
deserves this
in
by
his class.
himself.
He deserves to be the headliner.
He does.
Not to say that these other guys aren't deserving, like the Freebirds and the Godfather, but I think Sting needs to be the headliner of his class, and I think that Daniel Bryan could go next year, and that's going to be great too.
What will
when he
upset me
does.
is, people be like, "Oh, well, Sting wasn't here for his entire career." It doesn't matter. WWE did buy WCW, and the reason Sting never came over was just how loyal he was to that company. No one ever realized that Sting was getting offers from Vince all the time, and Sting was the one guy who will never leave. Now, granted, he went to TNA. But what did he do in TNA? He stayed till the very end, to where Ditsy, I think he was starting to get screwed over a little bit. I think he started to hate the storylines in TNA, and that's probably when he said, I had enough. Ditsy or whatever, they're not doing what I want them to do, and that's when he finally went. But you can't subtract anything from Sting for being loyal for what he did for so long. I mean, he's the reason WCW had life. I mean, he was in that WCW versus NWO match. I mean, Sting was WCW. Yeah, you think about NWO, you think about Hulk Hogan, Goldberg, but WCW was Sting. It was Sting. That's all it was.
No, and I 100% agree with you. And that's the quote that I've heard so many times with that was Sting was going down with the ship. No matter what happened, Sting was not leaving WCW. He was staying there till the very end. That was one of the things they always said about him. There's same thing with The Undertaker. Both of those guys, they said, were the two guys. They were the biggest landmark guys because no matter what, Sting was not going down. Sting was not leaving, and The Undertaker was not leaving WWE. And I think that's a testament to both of them, is that both of those guys, were basically the benchmarks of both of those companies. You look back to Sting when he started with WCW. He had the surfer gimmick. He had the blonde, high top type haircut. And then Undertaker, for example, he's been there since, I think it was 91, right? Because this is, or 1990, because it was 25 years this past year.
25.
So it's just amazing to see what both of those guys did. And that would be like if say, for example, the WWE ends up that they won, you know what I mean? The WCW won. If WCW would have beaten the WWE and the WCW does a Hall of Fame, The Undertaker doesn't deserve to have his own class. I don't think that argument really has much merit because it's not necessarily what they did, it's what they did for wrestling when the WWE is acknowledging someone, Yeah.
Just like I'm sure one day eventually they're going to induct probably the NWO, which I think, just like they inducted the Four Horsemen, I think eventually one day the NWO should be inducted. You'll bring back some of those original members. Sting will probably be a part of that. You'll have Scott Hall, Hote, even for God's sakes, put the Big Show in that. Big Show was a big part of NWO when they first got going as their enforcers. So I mean, that's the thing is you're still going to have combined people from each place getting inducted in several different areas. Like Ric Flair has 2 Hall of Fame rings. It's going to happen. And I think NWO will get inducted, and D-Generation X will get inducted, and you'll see all those marquee people from cross brands that will probably go in twice for maybe 2 different companies.
Yeah, 100%. We won't touch too much more on that. I do want to touch a little bit on let's talk a little bit about TNA real quick.
So as we said last week, after our show went off the air, Lethal Lockdown came on. I think it was a Pop Network, whatever the hell
Pop
network
TV.
that is. Jeez, they have all these freaking weird networks. First they were on Destination TV, which I was like,
Destination America, yeah.
I had to Google whatever channel this crap is on.
Wait, which one is that one? Which company is that?
TNA.
Oh, TNA. Okay.
Oh, by the way, I was watching the New Japan, like you said, Paul, and these are like old episodes. Like I was watching one where AJ was still in it. I mean, it was really interesting. Sorry, getting off topic there.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
So AJ, but get back to TNA. Ethan Carter versus Matt Hardy, the main event. Carter got screwed by Spud. Everyone thought Spud was gonna, stay with Ethan. He screwed him, and Matt Hardy still the face of the company for whatever God knows reason. And then I saw last week he comes out with his kid now, and what's the guy? Brodus Clay I guess his name's like with Tyrus.
Tyrus, yeah.
Holding the baby. What the hell? Are you kidding me? Is that really what you want the face of your company to people to do? Bring a baby down? I mean, that's worse than when. What was it? What was it?
Snitsky, yeah.
Kicked the fake baby into the stands. It was worse than the whole thing.
Hey, it wasn't his fault.
Huh?
It wasn't his fault.
No. And then you also have Beer Money won their first match together. The big killer for TNA was the tag team champions, the Wolves, who I thought, they're very underrated in the world of tag teams. They're one of the best tag teams. They're one of the members, Davey Richards, very talented. Once again, will be on the shelf, and for the second time in TNA, the Wolves are going to have to give up their tag team titles, as Richards will be out 6 to 9 months, which I think is a great time to give the titles back to Beer Money. Let them run that division. I was really hoping to see Beer Money versus the Wolves. Now we won't get to see that. It's really disappointing. And, it sucks for the Wolves. This is the second time they've had to give up the titles. Very disappointing. So we'll see what they're going to do. Last time they had a tag team tournament, so we'll see what happens. I think this is a great opportunity now for Beer Money to get those titles back.
Yeah, I think it's a great time. To touch a little bit more on that, I think the whole thing, like we've said time and time, I think EC3 is the best thing going there. I think that Mike Bennett, that just showed up there, I think he's going to do great things there. Now, I would love to see down the road Mike Bennett versus EC3 in a feud. I think that could be one of the better feuds, going in TNA in a while. I just don't see how Matt Hardy does any good right now as a champion, because what are you going to do if he beats EC3 like he did? Now EC3 gets a rematch because Spud's going to say, they're going to say because Spud interfered, so he gets the rematch. Where do you go again if EC3 loses? Then EC3's out of title picture. Who's Hardy go to next? And I think that's kind of what we're looking towards now. Are we going to have to watch EC3 versus Rockstar Spud in the feud? I don't think it's necessarily a bad feud. I just don't think that EC3 should be out of the title picture right now. I think he should be the one right now being the guy,
well, here's the
forward.
problem. I mean, who else do you have? I mean, who else do you have to put in the title picture besides EC3? I mean, that company's lost a lot of star power. I think Drew McIntyre used to be WWE. Mm-hmm. He's still there. Yeah. So he's finishing off Angle's career. You still have Bobby Lashley, but they're not even using those guys, and those are big name guys. It's really really disappoints me that I see that Matt Hardy is the face of that company when they have so much better talent in there than him. I hate to say it, but I don't think he's not a heavyweight title material guy. I think you have more better people there. I'd rather put the title on Lashley. I'd rather see Bobby Lashley have the title before Matt Hardy in there.
And that's the other thing. What do you think about since Richards is out? What do you think about Edwards maybe getting a chance at one of these titles since he's on his own for 6 to 9 months? You see him maybe even just in a match for the world title.
I think he will, because when Davey was out the first time, Edwards really was bumped to not do anything. So I think it's time they let him show on his own. He really was held off a little bit until Davey came back. So hopefully they let him do some, maybe the S division. Which is, I think the S division, I think, put on one of the most greatest matches I've ever seen. I mean, AJ in those matches, when they used to have the
Ultimate X match.
Thank you, the Ultimate. That was an awesome match. I mean, the concept.
Yeah, that's a great concept.
I mean, I give TNA props. They came up with some great match concept. The Lethal Lockdown, they don't do that as much as they used to anymore. That concept was great. King of the Mountain.
The King of the Mountain. Yeah, I love that match.
They put up some great concept for matches, but it's the talent that they're using now. I mean, the Matt Hardy, that's not a talent you have as a face of a company.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the X Division per se, we were just talking about that. Like the guy Trevor Lee, that's the champion right now. They're using Shane Helms, which is how you should use it. You're using Shane Helms like as his guy, like and eventually Shane Helms might get involved, but Shane Helms isn't the guy carrying the division. He's not the guy with the title, and I think that's the right thing to do. I think Matt Hardy should be more so, given that let's push this guy up. Let's get this guy to the top, because that's how you're going to build the company. Everyone knows Matt Hardy, and they're not someone that everyone's going to be like, oh, let's tune in to see Matt Hardy.
I don't want to
go watch
Matt Hardy.
Exactly.
I'd rather tune in to see the Hardy Boys because of Jeff Hardy.
Right, exactly. And that's what a lot of people get. Nothing against Matt Hardy. I just don't think that he's the guy that should be the world champion right now. And I think I'll just kind of leave it at that. I mean, we're kind of saying the same thing about Hardy. I couldn't agree more with you. I think that he's someone that could be in world title matches, but I just don't think he's the champion.
All right, we're going to shift back to Raw real quick because there's one thing we hadn't even touched yet. That was the end of Raw last week with Roman and Triple H, where they go from apparently, they saw Roman had the surgery. Obviously, it was a work, but apparently he actually did have an actual legitimate injury, and they used that thing on Raw for him to be able to have the surgery take place. So it was a legitimate injury that he had. They just had to do some storyline to where he actually to say he had to get surgery, but they just used the beatdown as an excuse for it. So where do you go from here now? I mean, you saw what Triple H did to him. He put on a beating like what Roman did to him at TLC. It was TLC. Yeah, TLC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where do you go from here? Does Roman bounce back, or is Triple H going to be the guy who's going to be the superior man, the cerebral assassin, and just start beating down Roman all the way to WrestleMania?
I think you need to push Roman as this Samoan badass, for lack of a better term. I think you need to make him look like he's the man. And as much as people give him crap and they're going to boo him, every Raw he comes to, he's putting in the matches, he's putting in the work. He goes out there and puts on great matches. He's trying. Yes, his matches might end very similar with the spear at the end and kind of be anticlimactic, but
everyone's match ends with the same
there's
way.
always something. It's just if people like
it's called
you,
a finisher for a reason.
And I agree. I think that Roman deserves this title, and I think that they need to give it to him at WrestleMania. I know I give you crap and say he's going to lose again, but
did I hear that right? Did you say give him the title?
I think he needs it. Don't make me take it back. I think it's time. I think he's put in the work time and time again. Last year was supposed to be his moment against Lesnar. They had Rollins cash in, which was a great surprise. I just don't think that they need to put him in this match again to lose. I think this is.
You have him keep the title until Rollins comes back.
And I think that'd be great.
That match.
Going into the summer at SummerSlam, I think I could see Roman holding that title because now not only that, you add that, but then you add back the intrigue of the person with the briefcase. Say Ambrose wins it. You add that intrigue of Ambrose comes down after the match, whoever wins, you get the triple threat match between the three of them. There's so much you could do in that situation, but I just think going forward that Roman Reigns as the champion is the way to go. I think he's earned it. I think he keeps putting in more work. I know I'll probably get, flack for this because people will be like, no, he doesn't because of this or that. But if you've been watching wrestling and you've been watching Roman since he started, he does time and time again, he delivers in his matches. Yeah, on the mic, he's a little, scary sometimes.
He's working on it.
But he's trying. It's not like he's going out there and just performing duds like last week. Triple H beating him down,
He
stuff like that.
He sold it.
He's selling it, and that's what you have to do.
Talk to about his mic skills, he needs to call up his cousin.
Yeah,
he needs to call up The Rock, and I truly believe The Rock is. I truly believe The Rock is helping him along the way because I think over time you've seen him gotten better in selling stuff, and I mean I'm sure he's talking to The Rock on a daily basis. I'm sure The Rock is talking to him, hopefully helping him out. But I mean that's probably what he needs to do is talk to The Rock like, hey man, how do I get these promos? More going. Obviously, you saw last year the Royal Rumble, they brought The Rock out probably to help him get up a little bit more, get him over. I think that's why The Rock was used. But, I mean, he's improving, like you said, definitely in the ring, definitely selling stuff. The mic will get there. You see a lot of these superstars when they first start out, the mic skills aren't there. It takes a very special person to have the mic skill right off the bat. I mean, like HBK, The Rock, Johnson. I mean, those guys are just a special type of person who can just have a mic skill without ever having to even practice or something. And that's a once-in-a-lifetime athlete to have something like that. Seth Rollins is an example. I mean, The Shield, it was mostly Dean Ambrose, if you think about it. I mean, if you remember watching the promo, it was always Dean that was doing the long promos. Seth and Roman really had to go on their own and learn how to do promos. I mean, can you agree with that one?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Dean was definitely the focal point of being on the mic when it first started with the Shield, and I think that Seth and Roman did a little by little every week. Not that Seth was necessarily bad on the mic. I just think that Dean was their mouthpiece for the most of their run, and I think that then you saw that Seth really could hold his own, and they kind of gave Roman a chance, but it just was something he still needed to work on. He has the look, he had the in-ring, he just needed that extra push on the mic, and I think he's getting there more and more every week, and I think as a champion, I think he could do it. I just don't think that the fans want to see him as a champion unless he's a heel, and I just don't think that's time. But then that's where you kind of think is you have, this is where I kind of go back. Shane wins the match. That happens before. Does Shane come out and make Roman his corporate champion?
You could see it happen. But
Or does Shane lose? He comes out to cost Triple H the match and then make, you know what I mean? There's so many scenarios
yeah.
with that match. What do they do per se?
Mm-hmm.
Is a good question, and that's why I think going down this road, like we said, you go down, you're going to see all these different Raws down the road to WrestleMania. What could happen? There's so many scenarios, and that's why I'm actually excited that they're going to, there's so much time left, because week by week, it's almost, Raws, there's something that could happen every week that you're like, okay, that adds intrigue to
we're
the
all just going to have
storyline.
stuff to talk about.
Exactly,
until WrestleMania. It's going to be great.
Undertaker's on tonight, so what's he going to say to further the storyline? So I'm really excited about this whole entire scenario that we have going down. Does the Bullet Club show up, like you said? Do the Wyatts have a match, or do the Wyatts become a huge focal part of that storyline? Does maybe Shane tell the Wyatts, hey, I see how you're treated. Make sure I'm the one that wins this match, and you won't have to worry about it anymore.
You know what?
You'll get what you need.
I like that you brought that up, because I could see Shane on Raws from going on out start talking to talent, saying, hey, look, I seen you lately. You're not being treated good. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. That could be another thing we start seeing on Raws, is Shane going from superstar to superstar, maybe in the back, start being buddy-buddy with them, seeing how they're doing. And, I mean, did you see that start happening? I didn't even think about that till you actually said something about the Whites with something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think that some way or another, someone's going to get involved, whether it's to make sure that he wins or just get involved like 5 minutes before the finish, to have like a false finish, like someone does their move, Undertaker kicks out or Shane kicks back out. Someone comes down, they leave, the match still isn't over. Something like that could happen. And I think that's where a lot of people, could get involved, I just think that depending on the match card, how it finishes out, I think that'll tell a lot about who might get involved in what match and the overall order, like we've talked about. Does Shane and Undertaker go last, or does Roman and Triple H go last? So I think that's definitely something we're going to be paying attention to on the way down, the road to WrestleMania. And, yeah, I'm very excited. I know I say it time and time again, but I mean, we're still over, I think it's 5 weeks still.
Yeah.
Till WrestleMania. And,
there's one more thing I want to talk about before we sign off, and it's one of the other matches on the card. Was that
I was
Paul?
going to ask, what WrestleMania are they up to? Like, what number? Have they been counting? Is there like WrestleMania like
33? 33? Dude. Oh my God. We're a wrestling show. We're guessing this.
Oh, no.
I want to say 32.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're right.
yeah.
You're right. It's 32.
32.
Yeah,
All right.
32. Yeah, because I think 33 is being bid on right now and possibly coming to Orlando.
I hope it comes to Orlando, because I'll be there.
That would be great. Yes, I would love every minute of that. So.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. We get confused on numbers.
No,
But
I want to say.
32. There's one thing that we hadn't talked about yet that I want to get into. That's Dean and Lesnar. And what do you think the outcome this could go? Obviously, we all know after this match, Lesnar is going to take his time off like he always does. He always, takes time off to probably, I think, maybe about SummerSlam or, about Survivor Series. Do you see maybe possibly Dean coming victorious against this and beating the Beast, or do you see Brock losing for a second straight Mania? Because Brock has had a pretty bad streak of pay-per-views lately. His last win, I think, was whenever he played, I think it was Hell in a Cell against Taker, was actually his last pay-per-view win. The Rumble. Last month, do we in last WrestleMania he's lost? Do we see, Lesnar go on a 2-match losing streak at WrestleMania?
Here's the thing, man. It's a really tough situation. I think that there's definitely the interest there that there's a possibility Ambrose wins because you made it a no disqualification match. But I think it's going to come down to more of Ambrose is going to lose, but I think it's going to be how much of a beating,
Yeah.
does Ambrose take in the match? Like, how many times is Lesnar going to have to F5 him? How many tables is Lesnar throwing through? How many chairs does he throw at him? Things of that nature, I think, is what's going to do more for Ambrose than him actually winning the match. Now, I wouldn't be against Ambrose winning, but like you said, where does that leave Lesnar if Lesnar loses again? Maybe we don't even know. Maybe Lesnar's coming back at the next pay-per-view at Extreme Rules or Payback, whatever the next one is in the line. I know there's a little bit of talk of what's going to be next. I think it's Extreme Rules, but I'm not positive.
Or Payback, whatever they decide.
Yeah, I forget what they decide. I know there
were
were some switches going around. So Does Lesnar maybe fight one more match in that and then not come back to SummerSlam, or does he not come back to SummerSlam at all? So I think that's definitely something that adds a lot of that being a street fight now. I think that definitely is going to help at least give you some idea, because if it's a one-on-one match with with disqualifications on, I can't see Lesnar having any shot. So I definitely like the odds, but if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Brock Lesnar wins that match, but it won't be for lack of effort on Dean Ambrose. But one other thing I want to say, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually a pretty cool fact. This is actually the first time that Monday Night Raw has ever aired on a leap day.
And the next time will be in 2044.
Yeah,
wow, that's pretty cool.
So considering that it's been on since the early 90s, Monday Night Raw has been on TV. It sounds like you would think it has, but considering leap year only happens every 4 years and it would have to fall right on the 29th, it's never actually happened on the 29th before February till this year.
Wow.
And like Matt just said, it won't happen again until 2044. I thought that was a very cool fact.
Yeah, it's a really cool fact.
That's awesome.
So
I think that's gonna wrap it up for us today.
one other thing for you, actually, Matt. We talked about TNA real quick. They said that they are looking to sell if it's for the right buyers. Do you see, if someone buys them, the right company or the right person that knows, do you think TNA can be legitimized again into a powerful number 2 threat?
Eric Bischoff.
Do you honestly think Bischoff could take them back?
Yes.
Just Bischoff.
I think Bischoff's going to need some help.
If you're Bischoff, how much money you need on a payroll in order to get wrestlers there to help you?
You're going to need a good amount of money, man. Because you saw they try to get Gallows and Anderson. They tried to get AJ, and they're throwing money at them. I don't know if maybe if it was money or they just wanted to go on the big stage. The problem with TNA had always been is the older guys that come on, like when Hogan and them were there, they were throwing all the money at them and none of the younger guys. I think you need maybe not even Bischoff, you need a young, ambitious guy that can get some money, that can maybe bring some talent over from ROH. Maybe get some people from WWE that are on the lower mid cards that aren't being used right. But it's going to take someone with some ambition and time. You're not going to be able to fix this company and make it go in the right direction to compete right away. You're going to need several months, to probably a year, to legitimize this company, TNA. But you're going to need a young, maybe young, middle-aged, ambitious guy, woman, whatever it is, and they're going to have to take the time and money to really build this company up. Like I said, look at some of those lower mid-card guys in WWE that aren't getting used right. Maybe someone like Tyler Breeze who's not being used right. Something like that. And be like, hey, look, man, you come over here. I'll offer you this money. And, we'll get you maybe in a title picture. You'll be one of our highlights of a guy here. Like Drew McIntyre when he went over there, when Christian went over there. Something like that show. Be like, hey, look what we did for Christian. He went back and won a world title. Look what we did for, so many other guys. AJ, stuff like that. That's what you're going to need is someone ambitious enough that's going to take the time and money. Because you can't have someone that's going to go in there and be like, oh, after a month, I'll throw them money and no. It's going to take probably a year for this company to be legitimized. And that's what I truly believe for TNA. It's going to take a year because you're going to have to redo storylines. You're going to need to do new faces. And I tell you what, there's going to be some people in that company that are going to be pissed off. Maybe like Matt Hardy, realizing I probably won't be the face anymore. But you're going to need time and money to redo this company. Like it's going to take a year. I mean, what do you think about that?
I agree with you. I think that it's going to. I agree that they need the new leadership. I think that seeing that it's up for sale, whether it's true or not, is a whole other story.
Shit, if I won the Mega Million, I would have fucking bought it, or the Powerball that 1 year.
I think that it would be a huge thing for anyone to buy that, but it's going to take more than a year. It would take just a year to kind of stabilize, figure out who's going to be in charge,
they have to go on
the
tours.
direction. But it's going to be I think it would be about 3 or 4 years till they're back in the position to be a challenge, and that's going to be something it's going to be a project, but they have to do it soon because the longer they wait, the more guys are going to leave and go somewhere else, because TNA, like we said, has fell off greatly. They were the number 2 for a while there, and it was, but now with all these other companies like Lucha Underground and
I'll tell you what,
and
when
New
they were
Japan,
number 2, I used to tune into them. When they did that Monday night special, when Jeff came back, Hogan was there. I was flipping back.
Oh, I was going back and forth. Yeah,
I wanted
absolutely.
to see Jeff Hardy. I wanted to see all of them. Now it's like, I keep up for it, for the show purpose. I make sure I keep up with it. But on a weekly basis, I'm not watching them. I'm going to look at highlights on YouTube or something. It's not
Exactly.
it's not in my program to watch. I rather watch. I got the Flash to watch on Tuesday. I'm not going to watch TNA.
Nice.
I couldn't agree more with you. The Flash is great, but it comes back to it. I mean, you have to have the right people in charge, and you got to have someone that's going to have the acumen of a business mind to know that this is what we need to drive the ratings. This is the kind of guys we need. You know, you can't use the WCW model because that worked before, but I don't think that model's going to work again.
No.
You need a new concept.
Because you saw when they brought back the NWO to WWE, that it was dead. I mean, it lasted a month.
Yeah.
You can't reuse something. You have to bring something new to it. Like the Main Event Mafia, that was actually kind of cool when they did that.
It was great.
I think
and then they
awesome.
faced the front line, the guys that were in TNA,
AJ,
you know, and then you had Samoa defect.
Yeah, it was
to
great.
the Main Event Mafia
That
because
was
they paid
something
him.
new.
You know, so I think it's something you need to do. You know, wrestling's changed a lot. You got to think about it. You know, you remember back in the day it was a lot, but now it's a lot more of these guys are doing. They're great. Not to say they weren't athletes then, but they're just, you know, a lot more moves, you know, off the top rope, a lot more innovative offense that you've never seen before. It's a different kind of athlete nowadays. It's not the prototypical bodybuilder anymore. Now you got a guy that's 5'10", you know, that's out there wrestling and putting on the matches of the night, like a Daniel Bryan did. You know, then you got Kalisto now at a United States title facing Del Rio, who's a main event guy, putting on great matches time and time again. It's becoming a time of change, and I think that if TNA is going to do something, they have to make the move, and they got to have the right people behind it. They can't be in it for 5 months, you know, 6 months. If it doesn't work out, leave. They got to think that for the next 5 years, I got to put a lot into this, and we can make this turn into something more than it was, and go back to where it was in those mid 2000s.
And the reason I say someone like Bischoff is because when he was in charge of WWE, doing WCW and everything, that company was doing great. As soon as he gave that crap to Vince Russo, that company went completely downhill. And everyone saw it. Everyone saw the demise of WCW. I mean, you can watch it on network, the WCW rise and demise. Bischoff was taking that company to great lengths, and then once they gave Russo some power, I think Russo was a problem that company ran to the ground, was because of that guy. So I think you need someone, in Bischoff, when he took over, he was a young, ambitious guy. You need someone that can mold what Bischoff did when he first came into WCW.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that, and I think that we'll leave that there. Maybe we'll get some people to touch on it, you know, with us a little more, and maybe we'll find out some more over the next week or two about maybe some people that are putting in investing ideas, like maybe a group of people that are thinking about buying it. We'll leave with Monday Night Raw. Any predictions about the Rusev Body Slam Challenge?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Anyone, do you think that we get a surprise here? Someone shows up that we're not expecting, or do you think it's a normal, you know, do you think this is the time the New Day actually shows up on Raw and confronts the League of Nations after they've mocked them?
Maybe you put Big E to do it, but who the hell are they body slamming? Rusev?
Yeah.
What the?
For the Maserati, you know.
That's cool.
I think
just have Big Show come out and just let him body slam him.
And I feel like it's going to be something that's just not going to be. I think it's going to be very much
I'd rather
of a
watch the
letdown.
Master Lock Challenge than watch a body slam challenge.
I agree.
So
But hopefully it's a surprise.
who are they body slamming? Is it just like a really big person or something?
Yeah. Some fat
Rusev.
Bulgarian that used to be a Russian.
Oh, okay.
He's about I think he power lifted.
Did he?
Yeah, I think he was an Olympic competitor for his
Can we
country.
all agree? Can we?
Oh,
We
okay,
never
big
want to
guy.
see. Speaking of powerlifters, Mark Henry, AJ, or Chris Jericho ever dance ever again in the middle of the ring.
You don't like the New Day? You don't like the New Day dance? Well,
I'm talking about Chris Jericho, AJ, and Mark Henry.
I'm saying you don't like how they mocked the New Day?
Oh, God, it was funny, but I'd never want to see that again. All day on Friday, I saw nothing but memes with them dancing, saying it's Friday. Like, Jesus, God. I don't need to see that
jeez.
all day.
Well,
That's funny.
I think that
Yeah,
does it for us tonight. Like I said, we had our episode on Tuesday last week, so we kind of already touched on Raw, but tonight we're back on Monday. I want to say thanks again for everyone watching, and Matt and myself had a pleasure as usual, I'm sure. I know I'm speaking on his behalf, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to hand it over to Paul, our great producer, and thanks again for everything tonight, Paul, and we'll let you close us out tonight, Paul.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Anthony. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. If you are watching, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube for our YouTube channel. You'll get updated with all new content that we put out there. Also, visit us or follow us on Twitter, which is at OT3 Podcast 1. And you can also just friend us or like us on Facebook. It's Facebook.com/Off the Top Turnbuckle.
Hey,
OT3.
you got it right.
Yeah.
I got the intro screen was right too here. I mean, it was the correct one. See, now it says off.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, nice. Let's see, what else? Did I forget anything? Oh, OT3 Podcast at gmail.com. Website's still coming soon. Let us know how we're doing. Ask us questions. Let us know what you want the fellas to talk about, and I'm sure they'll get to it and give a shout out to you. And I think that does it for me, right?
Yeah, I think so. I actually want to say one more thing. I want to say thank you to Brandon for being our first person to write in the live chat on YouTube. As humorous as the comment was. But please do, if you are watching this, please feel free to write there in the comments and ask questions about what we're talking about or chime in. We'd love to hear your input, whether you agree or disagree with us. We'd love to hear a different, point of view of maybe something that we were talking about. And if you weren't able to at least talk about it when it was live, feel free to write us on Twitter, like Paul's already said, or write us on the OT3 podcast page. We'd all love to respond.
One fan I want to ask is, James, will Sami Zayn win at TakeOver? Will it happen?
Dun, dun, dun.
James, please answer that for us.
We'll hope to speak to James during this week, and we'll have his answer on Monday.
Right on. Cool. All right. Well, I guess for who wants to take us out?
Anthony, it's on you,
I'll take care of it. It wouldn't be Monday night if I didn't finish it off right. As usual, I have to make sure that I get this plug in, even though he shamelessly did it himself earlier. Please don't forget to watch my friend Matt here on Shipe Sports Talk on Thursday night. They're actually going to touch on the NHL trade deadline on Thursday, as well as other topics. I'm sure the NFL, the MLB is going to be getting closer with spring training.
Tomorrow with coach of the Maryland State high school baseball champs tomorrow, so that should be a little fun thing for me to do.
Nice.
Perfect. And of course, as usual, we have our awesome producer for this show as well working on the Shipe Sports Talk, so please check out that show on Thursday. And I hope you guys all enjoy Raw. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next Monday for episode 4.
Woo,
have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone. Woo!
Woo!